Hello, welcome back, Boxhead1 here. Today we're going to be looking at this. This is a LEGO book set, something you saw back in the early 2010s. This one specifically is from 2011, and it has 5 builds within it. And I'm going to be showing all of them off in this video. It also came with 2 very cool figures from the original Ninjago series that was going on pretty freshly at the time, as you can see by the original style figures. But this is the updated and expanded Brickmaster book. So, without further ado, we can get into the figures, and then build 1. And then we'll, obviously, onward from that, go on to build 2, build 3, you know, etc. Stuff like that. Cool. The first figure in this set is Kai, and he is in his original outfit, or at least one of his original outfits. I forget if it's the very first one, or the second one he had in the first season of the show, but he's pretty cool. He has a very nice original hood. I believe the same type of hood, if not a very similar one, was seen on the original 1999 Ninjas sets, and those are very cool. But yeah, he has the clip on the back, which he can use to hold his sword, which we'll look at. It's actually attached to the set, but in most of the other builds he'll actually be carrying it. And he has a very cool but simple torso. I'm going to take off his mask and show you his face print. And you can see that very classic angry Kai face print there, and you can also see how big that mask piece is. Very cool. Being the first season of Ninjago, and also kind of based on the movie as well, probably mainly based on the movie at this point anyway, since 2011, we have a skeleton, one of the main enemies in the movie, and he's pretty cool. He has a big axe here, which is actually sparkled with glitter. You can kind of see that here. If I move it, you can maybe see it a bit more, those little white spots in there. That's a glitter piece, very cool, on a big bone. So that's also really cool. But he has some nice printing on him, and I'll angle him so the glare doesn't get him. And yeah, he has very nice, like, metal pieces on his head to kind of keep his skull together, which is kind of cool. Some other, like, metal spikes in his torso, and a very cool skeleton torso, ribcage type thing like that. It's not more the rounded one, it's more the rigid edged one. And he also has some of these big boots on his feet as well. Very cool. And while on the topic of the minifigures, we can get into the book, since obviously this is a review of the book. And yeah, it has information about the characters, it has some cool little stuff about him. I won't be reading in here, but you can pause and read it for yourself. It also shows how to build the figures, and the skeleton's name is Frackjaw, if you were wondering. He's pretty cool, and I quite like him. Very nice. And also, if you were wondering where the pieces are stored for this set, there's a big open section in here, and those are some extras that are just left over from these builds, but are used in other ones. And if you were wondering, the first set of builds starts on page 14 of the book. And it is also, of course, important to mention the stuff that's before the build first. And we get just a map of Ninjago, I guess, or the original map of Ninjago. They eventually turned it into like the yin-yang symbol, but here we go. Some history. You can pause and read. I won't be reading everything, but yeah. We also get information on all the ninjas, which is pretty cool. Again, you can pause and read. And the skeletons, because, I mean, they're also kind of important for the story. In fact, they're very important for the story. Here's some more stuff about Kai, of course, and all that. Very nice. But yeah, let's finally get on to the builds, because I've kept you waiting long enough. And we're going to be separating the actual builds in terms of the skeletons, Frackjaws versus Kais. So, let's first look at Frackjaws, because his, or at least his first one is built first. Very good English by me. The first build of Frackjaw is this very simple dune buggy called the Doom Buggy, which is a very cool little name. And yeah, it's very cool. It has a printed piece on the front. There are no stickers in the set, which is great. It also has this big engine in the back, and it's very simple. Doesn't have a steering wheel, so that may be an issue for him. Or, actually it does. I've built it wrong. And I've just realized that. I can't believe I missed that. I always thought that was weird. And I didn't think anything of it because I thought he'd have to sit down here, but because he's a skeleton, he doesn't have the same minifigure legs. Makes sense. Okay, crisis averted, we have the Doom Buggy, or Doom Buggy, in its correct configuration. And yeah, it's very simple otherwise, and I will show you with Frackjaw on it, of course. And it's certainly an interesting look. He doesn't look very menacing on that, being that he can't sit down. I think if either he was lower down or the steering wheel was up higher, I think it'd look a lot better. But he just looks like he's going to have some back problems. But, yeah. Still a pretty cool build. I quite like it. The next build for Frackjaw is the Skull Cave. And by cave, I bet they mean cage, but it says cave, so we'll go with it. It's pretty cool. It's a cage with some bones on it, and it's some very nice bones there. I think that looks very good. It also has a turret on top with some skeleton skulls, printed, of course, on there. And those are flick fire missiles, something they loved back then. I'm terrible with it, especially with one hand, which is going to be a struggle. So I'm just going to push it, and you can see it usually goes a lot farther if you flick it. But either way, you can open these up because they're just on hinges, and they're stopped with this bar so they don't go too far in on themselves. And you can fit one figure in there, being Kai, of course. And with Kai locked up, Frackjaw can successfully steal the golden sword, which we'll look at next. And we'll start off Kai's builds with this kind of Japanese-inspired temple. Obviously, Ninjago is inspired by Japanese ninjas, or ninjas, whatever. And they're pretty cool. So, this little temple has some swords on either side. It has a spear in dark brown. It's kind of hard to see what color that is on camera, but you can kind of tell it's not reddish brown based on the floor. It also has a black katana sword and a battle axe, which is cool as well, and just another spear in pearl gray. This is just, I believe, in I believe that's just dark bluish gray. I can't really tell. It's hard with this lighting. But yeah, there's also this sword in the middle, which is Kai's golden Spinjitzu weapon sword thingy. And that's what this entire thing is about. Kai getting his sword thingy from this temple. And it has some very cool little like paper lanterns here. Some just, obviously, as I said, inspired by Japanese architecture. And a very broken plant, because these things break off all the time. And to defend against Frackjaw, Kai has this very weak little launcher with a fiery thing in it. Maybe a bomb, maybe a cannonball. I don't know what that thing's supposed to be, but it can shoot. That wasn't very far, but it can shoot pretty far if you get it at the right angle. And that's basically it for the first of the builds. And we do get some cool little stuff here. We get just some stuff. You can pause and read if you want to. I'm not going to be reading everything because I'm terrible at reading, so that's great. But however bad I am at reading aside, let's get on to the second build, which is called Skeleton Mission. And you can, again, pause and read if you'd like. But yeah, let's get into this one, which has a very cool-looking vehicle there, and a very cool-looking little temple-type thing there, or shrine, I guess. And the next set of builds, the second set, I should say, is this. And it is slightly underwhelming compared to the first one, but I still think it's pretty cool. It has the skeleton tank, a more heavily armored vehicle there, spinning fireballs, as it's called, and the weapon, or shrine of weapons, the weapon of shrines. But yeah, the figures stay the same. Kai has his sword in the shrine, and I'm going to start with the skeleton tank, and then move on to Kai's side of the battle. Now, the skeleton tank is pretty simple, but pretty good. I actually quite like the build of this one. It has these very big pieces here, and it does kind of look like a face. Maybe a derpy face, but a face nonetheless, kind of with the teeth down here and then the eyes up here. But either way, I just said derpy, like it's 2016. What am I doing? But anyway, there's the printed piece on the front again. Nice engine, as I said, and it has some nice wheels as well. Now, our skeleton can sit here. There isn't a steering wheel on this one. I made sure this time, but there is a nice little back part, maybe, so he can ram somebody backwards. I don't know. But let's show him with the actual Frackjaw in the bike. And by in, I mean on, and by bike, I mean tank. And that's what it looks like. I think it looks a bit better than the first build. It actually looks a bit more built up. Like I said, I think giving it some extra height helps because he can't sit down. And I think that looks pretty good. These are, of course, flick fire missiles, and I'll just use my fingers like that to show you. Ooh, that actually went pretty far. But anyway, yeah, and they just have the skeleton heads on them. Very simple. The next thing, which Kai can use to combat him, is this spinning fireball launcher, which is why it's called spinning fireballs. And it's just like the normal other catapult, but you can spin it and shoot it, and that one actually went pretty far. And the final build from this, I guess, series of sets here, or builds, series of builds, I don't know what I'm saying. The Shrine, the Weapon Shrine, the Shrine of Weapons, has a lot of weapons, as you may guess, and it's also a shrine. No, but it's pretty plain on the back. You do have some more clips here. You can use those to store, you guessed it, more weapons. But on the front, there are the weapons from earlier, the two spears, the sword and the axe, or halberd style weapon. And then there's the main golden sword in the middle. It has the same style little thing up top. And if you want to know how that's made, there's actually just stud in here with an inverted rounded tile going into this dish, which if I try to get my fingers near it, it kind of gives it more detail. There we go. But yeah, very cool. Has the same type of lantern design on there, and has some nice fire in the back as well. While I wouldn't say all of it is better than the first build, I do definitely like the skeleton's vehicle better. The skeleton tank, I think it looks better than the other one, but I do think this shrine is slightly worse than the other one that they had in the previous build. We have another cool build coming up, so let's get on to number 3. And if you guessed that it would have a vehicle and a shrine, you'd be right. This time being the Shrine of Spinjitzu and the Fire Rider. Pretty cool name. And then Rock Rack. Simple. I'll let you read this. You can pause on it and read. You can zoom in, of course, if you can't see the text. In fact, I'll just get up closer on the smaller text. But yeah, this should be interesting. And the third build is a bit different from the others, actually. It is a bit longer in its shrine. The figures, of course, stay the same. I just have them here so I can show them off with the thing. Frackjaw gets a very nice car with a steering wheel and a very nice front, I forget what they call that, but you see those on cop cars and stuff like that. Here's a weapons rack, or like a rock rack. I forget. Yeah, I think it's called rock rack. And we'll talk about that. And finally, the shrine, of course. We'll talk about Frackjaw's stuff first. The rock rack first, because it's the most important. This is supposed to be a bone staff, although, I mean, they tried. And a battle axe, of course, as we saw earlier. Anyway, Frackjaw's little vehicle here is pretty cool as well. He has a very nice skull on it, and the engine's in the back, of course. Another tile on the back, which gives it a nice, more clean look. And, of course, as I said earlier, the front guard thingy. And this is what he looks like on it. A little bit better than the first one, since the steering wheel is raised, but still I think it could do with a bit more raising, or him being lowered a bit. Still, looks not too bad, surprisingly. Very nice. And Kai's section of the build is also pretty interesting. This shrine... Wow, that was a horrible pronunciation of interesting. But the shrine is pretty cool. It does have a very nice long pathway leading up to it that Frackjaw's supposed to navigate through. There's some like wooded area with some spikes, or not wooded, but covered with grass or leaves. Some spikes here. And the spinning sword, kind of cool. It has this little piece on the back so you can actually spin it easier. And then Frackjaw's not getting through that unless he times it well. And then at the end, you get the golden weapon, guarded by some torches still, and slightly different with the lights here being this style. Oh, it's actually better quality if you do this. Yay! But yeah, it has these on here, and then on the back, there's not really anything, as you would have guessed. I broke this piece while building. It's brittle brown. This is peak brittle brown here, 2011 to 2014. This book was out. I broke this piece. It's a break that's so minute, luckily, that it's not effective, but if I break any more brittle brown, I'll be sure to tell you. And that's basically it for this build. We still have a couple more after this, but I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's the best, probably, that we've looked at. I quite like the first one still. I think that one's pretty nice, but it's definitely more interesting than the previous one we looked at. I think the little spinning feature here is pretty cool. I like that. And I just like his little vehicle as well. Not as much as the tank, but I still think it's pretty cool. And this, the best thing in the entire book. Very nice. Anyway, we're now going to be looking at this, the Ninja Attack. We have another shrine, Shrine of Sacred Fire this time. The Cart of Bones, cool little name, and actually a pretty nice looking cart. And the little side build, Sacred Fireplace. Very cool. you can pause and read, of course, if you wish to. And I'm going to get... And our fourth and second to last build is this. And I actually quite like these. We have a car, of course. That was one of my favorite things about this one. The skeleton fireplace, or the sacred fireplace. And then the little shrine here. So, without further ado, let's get into the skeleton stuff first, as we have been doing. And then into Kai's part of the build. The fireplace is going to be very quick because it's very simple. It simply is 2 skulls and some fire, which is supposed to be pointed outward, but I think it looks better pointed like that. Yeah, very, very simple build, not much to say about it. There is quite a bit to say about the car, though, and it is very cool. It has a very nice little grill type thing on the front with those skeleton arms, the engine here as well. The flag on the back I think looks really cool, and it has some just simple details that make it look really good. Although they're kind of chaotic details, they look really cool, and he even looks good on it. And while I don't think he looks perfect, I think he looks pretty good. And that's a very nice vehicle. I think probably the best we've seen so far. But maybe not the best we will see. Hint, hint. At the future. Yay. And Kai's side of the build, if I can speak, the shrine. I mix up my words all the time, but here we go. We have a weapons rack here with the same weapons you've seen before. Another catapult. Ooh, that hit us, actually. Here we go. Catapult, shooting the same projectile. Some more little camouflage type things here. And the sword, this time resting loosely on some spyglass pieces, which are pretty cool. And this same build technique here. And a very simple shrine. Again, very simple. This one is on hinges, so you can slightly angle a little bit more if you do want. But that's pretty much it. But that's not the final build. But my opinions on this one, I should say, before I say, but that's not the final build. Should have given my opinions. Anyway, it's pretty good. I quite like these. This set, specifically, of these. I think it's probably my favorite up until this point. I like the first one, but I think just the car on this one alone is better. I really like that car. So, now, it's not the final build, but let's look at the final build. Yay, great transition, me. I'm definitely not losing my mind recording all of these in one day. This is the final one. The big one. The mech. The battle for Ninjago. Where Kai gets 2 leaves as camouflage. Definitely effective. And Frackjaw gets a massive, massive mech. And he stole the sword. So, Kai's, he's cooked. Anyway, you can read if you would like. Pause and read. As it is a book, of course, and that's kind of the point of this. Let's get on to the actual build. And for our last set of builds, we have a definitely not one-sided battle here. Kai and his camouflage, and Frackjaw on his monster mech. And this is Kai and his camouflage. You can see very good camouflage. In fact, you can barely see him if you look at it from this angle. But yeah, he's definitely going to win this fight. Then we have Frackjaw on his crazy mech, and this is actually a very good mech. I quite like it. It can spin. It can only spin a small bit, though, because of these little things on either side, which kind of limit its movement. But that's okay, because it can spin. But it's very cool. It has these very nice sword arms, which are pretty interesting, and it has a bone on either side as well. And this one with a flamethrower. So, yeah, very cool. He also does have the what do you call them? Flick fire missiles up here, which I forgot to put in somehow. Great. But they work the same as any other flick fire missile would. You just flick it out. And he does have some wheels on him, using some car pieces, of course. He has a nice little back area here, which is pretty bare, but does have some little stuff there, like the red detailing is pretty interesting. Little area back here, that's just some more parts usage, of course. And these legs, which can, they can move like that, and I guess that does actually allow it to spin slightly farther, if you don't rip the leg off, that is. But yeah, he's definitely a bit more advanced than Kai. However, in the end of the book, it does reveal that he cannot beat Kai, and you can see that here. You can see the continuation of the battle. Just some nice reading here and some visuals. You can, of course, pause and read that. And finally, Kai wins and gets the sword, and he has to run away. Very good. And with that, we have a very nice conclusion to the book. And you may have seen earlier, mine is falling apart just from the years. It's actually a pretty good constructed book. I actually quite like how it is. It's mainly made out of this cardboard that's kind of like laminated and stuff. So it's pretty good actual book by DK Books or whatever you call them. Partnered with Lego for making this and some other books that they did at the time. But yeah, I quite like this build as well. Anyway, that's about it for this. I do hope you enjoyed. I got this book, I believe, back not too far from the time it came out. I think probably 2016 in a Half Price Books. When I also got the Star Wars one, Shima one, and another Ninjago one, which will be coming out in 2 days from now, hopefully. So I hope you'll enjoy that. If you enjoyed this, you probably will. It's a slightly, I wouldn't say later one, but it has later characters in it. But anyway, I do hope you enjoyed. And again, I shall see you next time for another Lego book thingy. Goodbye.